multi-cloud DevSecOps project runs in containers with cloud DBs and secret managers, ensuring validated, secure, and resilient service delivery. Tools required for project were GitHub Actions, Cloud Build, Azure Pipeline, AWS Pipeline, Cynic for SCA, OWASP, ZAP for DAST scanning, Terraform for our infrastructure as a code, and Docker for containerization. Followed by tools for implementing DevSecOps in GCP, AWS, Azure are mentioned in this slide. Set up the account and environment for GCP, AWS, and Azure respectively by signing up, and install Git Bash on local system, and perform cloning of resource code to the repository, and pushed initial code to repo, and structured the GitHub repository, performed git pull push requests, and kept a track of environment setup. Later, I commit source code changes in Git Bash by staging the changes, created repository in Google Cloud Console. Likewise for AWS, created repository in AWS Console. Similarly, I have done it for Azure repos and kept a track of push vulnerability action. Furthermore, I've written a cloud build YAML files for GCP, AWS, and Azure, and included security scans at every stage of deployment by integrating automated triggers on code push, and ensured security best practices in YAML files, and added validations and logs. Maintained security tokens within GitHub for all the cloud-native secret managers, such as Secret Manager API for apps, injected secrets at runtime for CI/CD pipelines, and role-based access enforcement for identity access management. Resulted in centralized control, reduced manual efforts, and real-time monitoring and policy as a code compliance was achieved. Advancing in rotation support, IAM integration, audit logging, and CI/CD integration. Infused software composition analysis with Cynic that did vulnerability in open source. Cynic CLI, Docker container, and extension. Added condition to fail build if vulnerability found. Generated security reports as well as integrated DAST with OWASP ZAP as its black box for security testing at running application. Integrated in the pipeline to automate scanning of deployed apps, as well as reviewed and addressed vulnerability actions too. Implemented on multi-cloud environment. As a recap, for GCP, Cloud Build, Artifact, and Deployment. For AWS, Cloud Pipeline, ECR, ECS deployment. For Azure, Pipelines, Container Registry, and Deployment. Plus, security integrated at every stage with CAC and PAC resulted in secure delivery to GKE, hardened deployments with automated rollbacks, and policy-compliant and monitored deployments. As code builds, store, deploy, and monitor stages, I have infused security with Cynic Bandit, Trivy Conf Test, Signed Artifact, OWASP ZAP, and Azure Monitor, respectively. At the end, executed the pipeline in GCP AWS, validated the logs for GCP, AWS, and Azure, and reviewed the logs and reports, plus verified deployment and compliance check.